And obviously he wasn't doing what he's doing now. So one day Mr. Cooper came to our high school and he spoke to our high school coach, and he wanted to know about camps and this, that, and the other. And the coach told him, he said, there's a family in our school that their father sends them to football camps every year. And so Mr. Cooper came to me and we began to talk. So from that, he saw my girls, 2 girls, 2 boys. I'm a grandfather now. I'm 68 years old. But 25 years ago, I wasn't. I was in the same place that you as parents are, wanting to find a way for your child to get to the next level. And in the process, Mr. Cooper saw my girls get basketball scholarships and my son get D1 football scholarships. He saw both my sons go pro. So now he's doing what he's doing now. And before he started doing this particular deal, he was with other organizations that did football combines. He was several organizations. And when he would see a kid who he thought could play, he would approach them, find out what their deal was, were they being recruited, what was going on. And if he thought they could play, he would give their parents my number. And then, when that happened, then I would begin to direct the parents and the kid in a direction I felt was essential for them to be able to go to the next level. I knew my children were D1 material. So I did not need a coach or the community to tell me what my kids could do. Parenting is serious business. I grew up as the first to go to college in my family, and I didn't have any scholarship. I was a 3-sport athlete, but baseball was my deal. I was all county in basketball my senior year, but I love baseball. I went to school from 7th grade to 12th grade. I went to school in the dark and I came home in the dark. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, but I knew in order to do that, I had to go to college. April my senior year, I didn't know where I was going to school in high school. The guidance counselor came to me with a list of schools. It was a conference, an Ohio Valley Conference. At that time, I didn't know what a conference was. I knew what Division I was, Division II, 1AA, Division III, NAI. I didn't know about any of that. I just knew I wanted to go to college, so I had a chance to play professional baseball. The guidance counselor comes back with a list of schools. There was a conference, the Ohio Valley Conference, and in that conference was a school where I attended. I applied to Western Kentucky University, just inquiring. They accepted me, and everybody in my whole household was excited, because I was the first to go to college in my family. My dad was in service, my mom cleaned houses, but I had parental support. Everything I needed, I was taken care of. They didn't know how to go to college because they hadn't gone, but they wanted me to go. I had a father who was a straight shooter. He told me the difference between civilian life and military life is a big gap and a big difference. So, by my father being in the service, he gave us orders and he gave us commands. And he said the difference between the civilian life and the military life is they give you commands and orders in the military because life and death is at stake. And so that's how I was raised. In my 11th grade year, my dad knew I was serious about baseball, but he knew I wasn't ready. And he looked me right in the eyes and he said to me, the way you hit the ball right now, your sister can catch it. And he didn't blink. So he took me out the back of the house, pitched to me till his arm almost fell off. He said, bring the bat around like this, come through like this. All of a sudden, the ball started jumping off my bat. And I was hitting line shots. I hit close to 400 my junior year. My senior year wasn't as good, but it was okay. But I wasn't recruited. So now I get accepted at Western Kentucky University, and there's a thing when you get recruited, if they don't have a scholarship for you, if they know you're coming, they'll give you a preferred walk-on. That means the coach gave out all the scholarships, but they don't have one for you. But because we like you, we think you can help us, we'll give you a preferred. That means you have to pay. So my parents sacrificed to pay my first 2 years. I didn't know how I was going to go to school, but when my dad said to me, "You're going. If our family has to eat pancakes every week, you are going." So now I know I'm going. I get there my first year, I'm not playing, but I was in college with 3 future NFL head coaches. 2 were coaching the football team, and 1 was playing for them. And the one was playing for him, we were classmates. He's now still in the NFL as a defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans at this moment. So I saw the guys in college going pro. I saw recruiting for the first time in my life. Because I wasn't recruited, I don't know what it's like. So at the halftime of football games, they would introduce the kids they were recruiting. They'd walk out on the field, and they would say, "Let's give a big Western Kentucky welcome to these potential players from Western." They clap, they walk back off the field. Basketball season comes, halftime, they march some other kids out for who they were recruiting. And they walk out there and they said, "Give a big Western welcome." So I'm seeing this for the first time. I wasn't recruited, so I don't know what it's like, but I'm seeing it. I got enough nerve to go and speak to the baseball coach in the spring of my freshman season. I go to the coach. I said, "Coach, my name's Harry Jones, and I'd like to be on trial for your team when you have trials." He looked at me, he said, "We don't have trials." So I'm a little nervous, and I leave the start. I call my baseball coach back in Pennsylvania. And I said, "Coach Wright, I got to go to a college where I can play baseball because they don't have no trials here." And he felt the nervousness and anxiety in my heart. He said, "Just hold on." He made a call to the coach, and he told him who I was, what I did, and what I meant to the high school. I go back 3 weeks later. The coach says, "The trials are going to be in the fall of your sophomore season." I get there, I try out, I make the team, and I was the first Afro-American who made a major impact. My first year, I led the team in hitting. I led in offensive categories, all conference center fielder. The coach sends me the trophy home with a letter. "Your junior and senior year, you're on full scholarship." Now I'm a father. Here comes my kids. I said, "You guys can get it coming out of high school because I know what to tell you. Not the coach, not the community. But I said, you can't go to school and act like knuckleheads. I said, you got to be disciplined. You got to listen. You got to get your homework. And you've got to apply yourself. You got to want to do this." So let's talk about my boys. I started sending to colleges, my youngest in 9th grade, my oldest in 10th grade. I sent them to the colleges. They stepped to them at the camp, said some encouraging words. You have to play varsity. Could you put that up for me, the first one? The first thing is you have to play varsity football. You have to be a starter, and you have to be one of the better players on the team. All coaches want good players. All coaches don't know every good player. They only recruit who they know. If they don't see you, they don't know you exist. They all want good players. And the reason a coach will offer you a scholarship or your son a scholarship, what's being said but not being said, what's said but not being said, we believe that your son can help us stay employed. And if you can't help them stay employed, they do not want you because they get fired. One of the most volatile occupations in our country are coaches. Their lives depend on the success of a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. If they don't play well enough, like to go to these bowl games and things to make money for the school, they get fired because it's about economics. It's a business. Coaches don't think like kids, and kids don't think like coaches. That's why you parents are so important. You have to get involved, you have to know. What you have to understand, and you've already done it. What you need will come to you, but what you want, you got to go get it. You're bringing your kids here, you be commended. The sons of your moms, or the sons here, you have your parents here, you need to be so thankful that they invested in you. Because they're trying to give you a legitimate chance for it to happen if you have a desire to go to the next level. So the last thing you can do, young men, is give your parents a hard way to go. You gotta respect them. They got a roof over your head, they're putting clothes on your back, they're feeding you, you're not feeding them. The best friend you have is your parents, not the kid sitting next to you. Your teammates ain't your best friends, it's your parents. I respected my parents, and my kids respected me. My father told me I could ask him anything, but I couldn't tell him nothing. You guys got a great opportunity. I'm so happy that Mr. Cooper allowed me to come and speak to you because I am so serious of what I'm saying. Our whole family, we're in a affluent community, but it was my kids whose star was shining the brightest. And when my kids would go to camp, and the coach would talk to them, they play varsity. We make a highlight tape, send it back to the coach. They look at it, get encouraged more. We go back to that same camp. So my kids got to be seniors, haven't even played yet. All of them had full scholarships, hadn't even played the senior year. Your senior year, they were taking their visits. The NCAA gives you 5 official visits where they pay the expense for you as a student athlete to fly you to the school, put you up for 48 hours at their expense. If the parents go, the parents will have to pay to get there, but once you get there, parents, they'll put you up, pay for the expenses in the hotel, feed you and everything, and you and your son, along with the coaches, they will then orient you to their program. It's for 48 hours. You get 5 of those visits. I'm trying to help my kids make this decision. So I said, you guys are going to take all 5 of yours. And then we're going to make the decision which one you're going to go to. Because I was teaching my kids a lesson. Once we give our word, we're not going back. Don't say, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. Parents, you got to start teaching your kids how to say what they mean and mean what they say. Don't say, well, they're too young to know. You got to start teaching them now. So they took all 5, and even though they may like the first visit first, we take all 5, then we're going to come back, and then we're going to call the school and say, look, we're coming. Call the other coaches and thank them for recruiting our sons, because I realized not every parent's son was being recruited. And I want to let them know I appreciate you so much for extending this offer to our children. And I'm thankful and I'm appreciative. And even though we're not coming to your school, I thank you for giving them the opportunity to come to school if they so chose to come. I realized my experience that I had in college, that even though the coach told me they didn't have tryouts, but once he saw that I was serious and I was laying on the line for him, we became like this. And so, how do I know what school my son to go to or daughters to go to? I pick the schools for our kids based on the coaches, not the school. Now, everybody's free to make their choice. You can say, well, I want them to go to school, get education. They're going to get that. The best taking care of students in the whole college scene are the athletes. They got tutors, they got everything to support them. For them to fail, they just got to opt out. My son was in school, he had tutors, He's taking notes. They got somebody else here taking notes. And whatever note he missed, they got. And then they got academic facility just for the athletes. The regular student body don't have it. They don't have it. But here, they get everything. And I saw kids who didn't pay the price, full ride, and still don't graduate. Play 4 or 5 years and still don't graduate. What I want you to understand and know is that there are 128 Division I schools. They all give 25 scholarships a year to each for that quota. That means only 3,200 kids out of over 300,000 can go Division I. The earlier you start to getting your kids in front of colleges, the recruiting window is this high. When you get to 12th grade, it's like this. You're not being recruited till you get phone calls. Letters mean nothing. The only letter that means something is the letter of intent that says we want you to come to our school. And when they send you that, you know that they're keeping their word and they really want you. Even though our kids gave verbal commitments and the coaches gave verbal commitments that they wanted my kids to come to the school, when I knew it was a done deal, because the signing date for football is the first weekend in February. So prior to February, they will mail the letter of intent that we really want your son to come to our school. It will be in the mail. It can't be final until the parents sign it and the kids sign it. They'll fax a sheet back, and then they'll give you an envelope to mail the rest of it back. When you get that letter of intent, you know it's serious. Again, all coaches want good players. They don't know every player. So I had to figure out, how can I get my kids recruited? Because I wasn't recruited. The thought that came to me is the coach that has the carrot. It's the coach that has the ticket. So I just put them in front of those coaches. They kept having success in high school. Go back. Success in high school. Go back. Success in high school. I knew my kids were D1. The fact they went pro was not my doing. I just saw they started having success. So I said to them, look, you're at the level they're picking from. So just do your best. One got drafted, one didn't. But they both made it. The one on my left, he played 6 years. The one on my right, he played 2 years with the Colts. The one who played with the Colts caught the winning touchdown in the Alamo Bowl in '98 with 32 seconds left from Drew Brees. What I tried to do when the coaches came into my room was my parents with me, my wife, of course my sons, and my daughters who were home. The coach would come in, give us their speech on what they're going to say, and then once they leave, we would look at everybody and say, what do you think? I wasn't trying to make this decision by myself, because I wanted my father to be in on it, because he was in on it with me. And then everybody gave what they thought. And then recruiting is a family proposition. Even though your son may be recruited, you're the key, mom and dad, because they don't even know what's going on. I wasn't recruited, so I didn't know what's going on. My kids are getting recruited, and they still don't know what's going on because they're kids. Recruiting does not have to be a circus. When your son is getting recruited, you as a parent, you tell the coach when to call, because you're in the driver's seat. They're not in the driver's seat, you are, because they're coming after your kid. They're coming after your son. They still have to have a life. They still got to go to class. They still got to, be a kid. So you don't stop everything just because they get recruited. So if the schools are recruiting, you just tell them the time your son will be home and the time that you can have this conversation with him. Your son has to know that not only do they talk to the coach, you, mom and dad, talk to the coach. Because they may not be able to understand what the coach is saying, but you will. So that means to you guys in here, if you're going to get recruited, your parents are in on it just like you are. So you have to keep it together. when you're being recruited, parents understand this. They will try to find the most, who has the influence over your son, whether it's grandma, whether it's a coach, whether it's mom and dad, whether it's a sister or brother or cousin, whoever has the influence, they're going to recruit them too, so they can get the kid to come to their school. So, talk about my youngest son. I sent my youngest son to 3 camps every year. I sent my oldest son 2 years because I'm learning as I'm going. So the younger one got more benefits because I'm learning from the first one to the second one to the third one, like that, and you learn with each one. So I sent him to Michigan as a freshman. That's a green and white guy. They sent him to Michigan 4 straight years. When I went to pick him up his freshman year, he hadn't played freshman ball yet, the receiver coach came to me and said to me, he said, gave me a questionnaire, he said, if Mark is a senior, I'll take him right now, but make sure he get his grades. The 4th year after him gone, Coach Lloyd Carr, who was the head coach at the time, called me and he said, Pastor Jones, we just offered Mark a full ride, a full scholarship, but he says he couldn't accept it until he had the blessing of his father. I said, Coach, that's right. I sent him 4 years to Michigan, 4 years to Florida State, 3 years to Florida because he didn't want to go to Florida the 4th year. So I said, okay, we'll send you to Georgia. So he goes to Georgia. The schools I sent my son to offered, except for Florida. Of course, he got more. So now, he's going into his senior year. I sent the tape to Tennessee, and I sent it to Georgia, and when they got the tape, they offered. So my daughter was going to a junior college below Knoxville, Tennessee. I said, her name was Joy. I said, Joy, let's stop by Tennessee because I sent Mark's tape to Tennessee, but I didn't hear nothing. So we stop. I go to the facility, I find out where to go, and there was one coach on staff. The coach on staff that I met is no longer in Tennessee, but he is at Texas A&M. And he's making $1.7 million right now as a defensive coordinator for Texas A&M. But he was a coordinator for Tennessee. I didn't know who he was. He was just the first coach that came out and met me. So he asked me, he says, where are you from? I told him, he said, what's your son's name? I told him what's my son's name. He said, what's his number? I told him that. Where are you from? Where do you live? What school? I gave him all the information. So he called over to the film room and asked if they had the tape. He said they couldn't find it. So he said, well, just tell me what your son does. I said, he plays this, he does this, he does this, he does this. He said, he sounds to me like he's a national player. That intro went right over my head. And so I didn't realize what he was talking about until he got recruited by everybody in the country just about. East Coast, West Coast, North, South, wherever. So he said, well, send me your tape when you get back. So I said, okay. Coaches do not look at emails if they don't know the email is coming from you and he told you to send it. So to send an email or a tape to a college and they don't know it's coming, it goes in the trash can or gets taped over. They only look at film that they know is coming. So parents, what you have to do, you have to call the school, speak to a coach, and identify yourself and tell them what your son does or position he plays, and you like to know if they would look at his tape. If they say yes, you have a contact, a physical flesh and blood contact. Not out here in the ether waves. Then you send the tape to them, you give it time to get there, you give it time for them to look at it, then you call them back, and they will tell you what they think of your son. Therefore, you're not in the dark. The closer kids become seniors and nothing's going on, a big question mark comes in the house, and the longer you get it takes you to get an answer, the question mark is bigger and bigger and bigger. As I speak right now, the seniors who are in high school today, with the exception of those being recruited, have all this pressure on them. They don't know what to do, the families don't know what to tell them, And it just gets bigger and bigger because it's moving closer to the signing date. And nobody says we want you to come to our school. Because there's so many kids, a lot of good players, they fall through the cracks. They're good enough to go D1, but nobody saw them. They're great players, good attitudes, and can bring it, but they don't have no exposure. So it's critical that you make contact with a coach, you know who that coach is, because that's your contact into that school. By sending your kids to a camp, I don't send them to a one-day camp, I send them to a 3 or longer camp because you can grow on them, your sons can grow on them. The first day at the camp, they're nervous the first time they go out with all these hundreds of kids that they're doing the same thing they're doing, so they're nervous. By the afternoon, they'll probably settle down. The second day, they get better. The third day, they should be rolling. Okay? And hopefully you do well enough to catch the attention of a coach. You guys who have aspirations to go to the next level, you have to understand it starts with varsity. Can you go to the next one, please? That's my son in high school senior year. This is a film day, picture day at Tennessee. How did he get to Tennessee? He's already gone to the rest of the camps. When the highlight tape came back from my house to Tennessee, they called me immediately, said, we want him to come to our camp. I said, he can't come because he's already gone to 3. They said, we got a 1 day. You don't send your kids to 1 day. Why did I take them 1 day? Because they wanted him. Everybody else, I think the tape, or 1 day costs like maybe $40. Don't cost much. There's a lot more kids there than my kid. Only $40. They said, we got a 1 day. I said, well, when is it? They said, it's on a Sunday. I said, well, I can't bring him because I'm preaching. We have a church. I can't bring him. But I said this, I'll send my sister. My sister grew up in the same house with me and my dad. She played 3 sports in high school. She knew the deal. And she could handle the conversation. She knew how to carry the conversation. And the coaches knew what she knew. That she knew that she knew. So I said, I'll bring my sister. Her name is Nancy, but we call her Sis. I said, Sis, look, I need you to take Mark to Tennessee because they want him. And they're going to be all over you because they want him. So I said, just get ready. So that he would stay in the dorm with some other kids that would come to the camp. So he didn't want to do that, so they would stay in the hotel. When the coach came to get him at the hotel, he didn't know my sister's name, Nancy. He asked for Sis, and she's not on the docket. She got Nancy Jackson on there. He's asking for Sis because that's what we call her. So they didn't know who Sis was. And she happened to be in the lobby, and Coach Barry said, whose son is a linebacker coach in the NFL right now, says, here I am. So they take her and my son over to the indoor facility. And they didn't call my son by his name, they called him by his number. They said, number 5 is here. And so everybody's going through the motions, and now they got to run the 40. And she said, when it came time for him to run the 40, everything went silent. And when he ran the 40 and finished it, the coaches started giving each other hand signals of what he did. He ran a 4.32 or 4.34, because his pro day was 4.34 and 4.36. And Coach Fulmer, who's the coach, flip again. Go to the next one. Coach Fulmer was the head coach at Tennessee at the time. My sister was in an indoor facility with her. She was sitting down over there because the field ran like this. And she was sitting down watching it. And when he ran the 40, he went to my son and said, look, we want you to come to our school. Then he walks all the way down, 70-yard field, to where my sister was, and she's kneeling down, sitting down, just watching. He gets down on one knee and says, listen, I want you to know, I just spoke to Mark. We want him to come to Tennessee. We're going to give him a full ride. So my son was so nervous, when they went back home, he didn't say nothing in the car. My sister said he didn't say nothing until almost like 40 minutes away from Knoxville. And asked my sister, what do you think? Because he was quiet, but he was a playmaker. And so we went to Tennessee. And I went to Tennessee because I love Coach Fulmer. I got his number in my pocket right now. When the Tennessee staff got fired, the quarterback coach is now the quarterback coach at Florida State. One of the line coaches is at Clemson. The other coach, one just got hired, the receiver coach that coached my son is now just got hired by South Carolina. So what am I telling you? I built relationships. And I got them to this day. Because you know what? I know you guys are coming. All my kids got it, but we got other kids in Syracuse. We got other kids in the Vanderbilt. We got other kids in Amherst. We got other kids and other families. And most of the kids that I have, Coach Cooper told them about me. I didn't know them. And they come from all over the country. But we take what we learn because I want, from the bottom of my heart, for you guys to make it. I want you to know the truth. Because understand, there's a dark side in recruiting. And I don't want you to hear it. Not everybody's going to go. It ain't funny. When your teammate goes and you don't go, you won't be smiling then. When the guy that you play against goes and you don't go, it ain't funny. So, what I say, I take it very serious. So Coach Fulmer, I got his number in my cell phone today. And I've spoken since my son left in 2004. Go to the next one, please. Forward. That's him. He got drafted by Tampa. Keep going. He was a punt returner wide receiver. Keep going. He got his best years with the Panthers. Keep going. Okay, you're gonna go to the next one. Okay, how do you go to college? First of all, you have to start in high school. You go from high school and you can go to college. You can go from high school to a junior college, and the reason you go to junior college because you didn't get the grades. So you have to play 2 years in the junior college. You won't play well enough so that a major college will like you. Start over again. You go from high school and get a scholarship, and you go right to college. If you don't have the grades, because you have to have academics. So the GPA is important. The SAT is a test you have to take. The ACT is the other test you have to take. And they take your grade point average along with this SAT or ACT score, ACT, and that determines if you can play your freshman year. So it's important, guys, that you get your grades. Mom and dad can't do it for you. You have to establish good study habits. You have to want it. Your parents love you, that's why you're here. But they can't play for you. They can't study for you. You can't, I'm going to say this. Guys, you have to be good decision makers. It's about your life. You have to know who your friends are and what your friends do. You have to be aware of who's around you. Because who's around you, even though you don't do anything wrong, they did. And it was something I learned when I was in college in sociology class, it's called guilt by association. Guilt means, association means you didn't do wrong, the person which you was with did wrong. So both of you get in trouble. You didn't do it, but you was with them, and you get in trouble too. So you have to understand, you got to know who's with you. That's why it's important to set goals, guys. The reason you set a goal, because it lets you know where you're going, not your friends, where you're going. And where you're going, if anybody's not going that way, you got to cut them loose. Because they'll pull you, they'll drag on you. And then when you start getting successful, especially when you start varsity and your friend doesn't, when you start and you start making it, those who don't will get mad at you. We didn't have the term called haters back in our day. I know what we called it. They just got mad and jealous, whatever. But you have to understand that. You've got to keep your focus, because your focus gets broken. Now you're distracted and you miss your goal. You have to set a goal. Write it down. If you don't write it down, you ain't gonna do it. Don't say I got it in my head, you're not gonna do it. You have to chart your course. If you want to sleep, I'm okay, just lay down. You're all right. No. It's okay. No. It's all right. Okay? You got to chart your course, guys. You have to write it down. You have to know what you want. So you write it down, and that's the direction you're going. So once you start going, anybody not going with you, just cut them loose. They're not your friends. They'll wait on you. So you go from high school to college, or you go from high school to junior college. Junior college because you don't have the grades. So you can get 2 years in junior college, get your grades up, then you can go to college the next 2 years. You go from high school to prep school, high school to private school, high school to boarding school prep. A boarding school prep is just like college, but it's high school kids. It's set up just like college. Kids from out of the country and out of the country and in the country go to them. But they have athletic programs. So if you're a senior and you got hurt, but you're a good player, if you go to a boarding school prep school, you can play one more year, 13th year, what you want to call it, that's called post-grad, 1 year after high school, or PG. You can have a chance to play again and do not lose any college eligibility. You still get all 4 years left. You can get a 5th year if you get redshirted. So these are options that you have. I want to say this, and I was thinking, should I say it or not? But parents, you have to know if your son can play. I mean, when I say no, you got to know that they can play, not because they're your son, but because they can play. With that said, you cannot afford to let them be on a team and the coach is messing over them. I'll say it again. You cannot let them be on a team and they shouldn't be starting because varsity is where they get picked from. When a college coach comes to watch the game, he only can evaluate who's on the field. But your son should be in there, but he's not because a coach made a decision that's unfair. So the college don't know he's sitting on the best player, one of the best players on the sideline. They just watch losing the game. So you have to make a decision. You're either going to approach the coach, and I had to do it. I'm going to tell you what I had to do. I had to go to the coach, say, Coach, because my son and this guy was going for the same position. This is high school. I said, Coach, my son comes home. He didn't get the position. I said, his name is Isaac. That's this one. I said, Isaac, did the coach give you a fair shake? He said, no, Dad. I said, okay. So he stayed home. I went to school. I got another assistant coach to go with me. He was a line coach. Because I couldn't go in there like a bull in a china closet, because he just won't hear me, just kick me out. And now I'm hurting my son, and now I'm upset, ready to get locked up. So what I did was, I brought the other coach with me. I said, Coach, did you give my son a fair shake? He said, yes, I did. I said, no, you didn't, because he told me you did. My father would believe me before he believed anybody in the community. I raised my sons the same way. They would believe me before they believe the president, because you have to have that type of rapport. So I said, no, you didn't. He said, oh, yes. He said, the other kid had a better camp. I said, Coach, if you have 100 camps, this kid will have a better camp than my son. And he said, oh, no. Now, they were going for the quarterback spot. He said, oh, no, the other kid is more accurate. The other kid makes better decisions. Your son has a stronger arm, and he runs faster. I said, Coach, you know what? That's a lot of reasons why kids go south. Talk about Afro-Americans at this point, because that's where I am. The other kid he was competing with was a Caucasian kid. But that wasn't the issue of what race it was just came to play. I said, Coach, that's the reason why a lot of kids go south. And the only reason my son won't go south because I'm his father. So I took my son home. We're Christians. I said, Isaac, this is what we're going to do. This is the one right here. Caught the winning touchdown from Drew Brees, who's in high school now competing. My son go D1, this kid go D3. It wasn't even close competition. It was a decision that was made. So I said, Isaac, we're going to believe God. You're going to bloom where you're playing. And that the people that know will see you. And the people that know are the college coaches. That year, they saw him. Whatever that coach said didn't matter anymore. It took his decision-making, his thought process out of the equation. So all thing he had to do was just watch what God was doing to my kid. And so I knew then how important it was. If some kids don't have representations, they fall through the cracks, their heart is broken, and once your kid's heart is broken, you can't get it back. They'll give up the sport they love all their life playing. So the one thing that my father watched over me, and I had to watch over my kids, I could not let my kids, daughters or sons, get their spirit broken. Because once it's broken, it's done. I'm bringing this up to you, because now it's your turn. The boarding school, prep school, is the best education in our nation. There's a lot of boarding schools. The ones that I deal with are the ones that my daughter went to, and they're 100 years old. They have $200, $300, $400 million endowments. There are other boarding schools who just started in the last 10, 15, maybe 20, maybe 30 years old, goes to there. I don't deal with them. Not saying they're not good, but they don't have no history. And you can't afford, just because somebody said you need to go to boarding school, that everybody's the same. It's like life. There's a good side, there's a bad side. So you have to be real particular in that, because it's about your son. You want your kids to go to school and play, and the coaches celebrate them. Not give them a free pass, but give them the opportunity to maximize their potential. Another thing that my father told me when I was growing up, he said the general managers who pick players and make decisions, they're at recess in first grade. And they know who can kick the ball the furthest, they know who can run the fastest, they know who can catch, and they can pick a team better than some grown-ups. Because grown-ups have issues. Kids don't, they're innocent. So all this, I'm gathering that I growing up with my dad, now my kids come. Now on this, and the other way, the other thing, you got the boarding school, you got the prep school, you got the private school, okay, that's in with the boarding schools. And then, 2 of my sons went pro, but there's 2 more up there playing right now. One of the kids is 6'4", 355, a nose tackle in his 3rd year with the Saints. He's from Connecticut. A person that knew me told me about the kid. So I said, I need a tape, I need transcripts, I need test scores. Well, he had to go to junior college. So I called a junior college down in Mississippi. And when the coach saw the film, he says, what do I have to do to get him? I said, nothing, just want him. He's up in Connecticut. Father is a football coach, and he don't know what to do for his own son. He's playing with the Saints right now, and I never saw his face. I saw his highlight tape. What are you saying, Pastor? I just know the process. I work the same thing that works for my kids and don't work for my kids. I can't work at no place else. Do I know everything? No, I do not. But like I told my wife, I don't know everything, but what I know, I know. That don't mean I don't know everything. I know everything. I don't. You ask me about physical science or chemistry or something like that, I don't know. But I had to know this. Because my kids were coming. And I couldn't leave it to the peanut gallery to make a decision for them. Parents, you have to understand, when your kids start getting recruited, the hostilities start coming up around the community. So be okay with that. Not everybody, but some will. But you have to make sure your son is getting a legitimate chance to do what he does. And then, guys, you have to play like you want to go. You have to leave no doubt. So when I was growing up, my father never wished us good luck. He said, that's 50-50. He said, when you go out there, you guys take charge. That means you go out there and leave no doubt. So we never wished our kids good luck. I told them the same thing my father told me. When you go out there, you do what you do, and you do it well enough so they'll want you. Don't leave it up to them. When I walked on, I didn't leave it up to the coach whether to pick me or not. He had no choice. And then when I made the team, and I'm leading offensive categories here with 300 every year, and I knew what it took. I was hungry. I knew I could play, but I knew my dad told me I could do it, and I knew I could do it once he said it. It was done. And he didn't care what other people thought. My family didn't raise me to be compared to everybody else. When I went to school, and my dad was still traveling the service, my mother, she deputized every one of my teachers so they could get on me and tell her what was going on. And if she had to leave work to come see about me or my dad, I got whooped. I didn't give my parents a hard way to go. They worked too hard to help me. They were telling me what works, not what they thought. I'm here to tell you what works. You do whatever you want to do. You're a free moral agent. Everybody got choices to make. Mr. Cooper had me come because he saw it happen for my family, and his kids are up there. You can see the schools they went to. Vanderbilt, Wesleyan School is like a mini Princeton. Kent State, Mississippi State, Brodess, University of Georgia, Coastal Carolina, Kansas, Richmond, Tennessee, Purdue, Holy Cross, Mansfield, University of South Florida, Gardner-Webb, some D2 schools, no D3 schools, nothing wrong with D3. You have to understand this. 4 levels, 1A, or AA, 3, and Division 2. There's 4 of them. You've got to decide if you want to go to D1. You got over 300,000 kids want to go to school. But only 3,200 a year goes D1. It doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that the coach is going to take who they think are the best 25 to offer scholarships to. This is not to make you get in fear or don't think you can't do it. You got to make up in your mind, you're going to be one of the 3,200. 85 scholarships are given to the Division I schools. If you go 1AA, they give out 65 scholarships. But they don't have to, 1AA doesn't have 25 scholarships every year. Just Division I does. So 1AA may give out 16 every year. Okay, or 17, not 25. So you guys are just getting started. You guys are here because you're good. You're good. That's why you're here. Understand this. Your parents invested to come. Everything costs. It costs if you don't do it. It costs if you do it. You want to pay it wherever you go. You got to see what side you want to pay on. This game you want to pay on. It costs to make it, and it costs if you don't make it. And so, guys, I just hope that, let me tell you about the ACT, the SATs, you take in 11th and 12th grade. The PSAT you can take as a sophomore or a 9th grader. The SSAT you take as an 8th grader or a 9th grader if you want to go to a boarding school prep school. So you take the ACT or the SAT as a junior or senior. You take the PSAT as a sophomore. You take the SSAT as a sophomore or freshman if you want to go to the boarding school, because the boarding school wants to see that test score, PSAT or the SSAT, along with your GPA to see if you qualify to go to them. So I want to say to you, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Because of Mr. Cooper, I love him because he cares for kids. He's one of the people that I met over the years that was serious about helping kids. And I said, Bret, I'm on board with whatever you want me to do. Because you saw my kids. Matter of fact, his son was with us when our sons went to the state championship. They were 15-0. My son was the best player in the state of Pennsylvania. They had 2 all-star games in our state. One's called the East-West, and the other called the Big 33, where they take the best 33 players in Pennsylvania and play against the best 33 in Ohio. They used to have the best 33 in Texas, played against the best 33 in Pennsylvania, and both my sons got elected to play in that game. So I got a chance to see it at the highest level. And I was just amazed of the things that were happening for our kids, and I was just overwhelming. And my wife had been playing these sports, but the thing was that when I saw it, we love your children, We love sports. We love athletics. We live it and sleep it. And when we get a chance to share with other, my son's teammates, with their families, I think there's something to do here. You need to go here. Instead of going to a D2 school, instead of going to a D3 school, go to prep school. He goes to prep school, then he plays with Syracuse. He plays with Dwight Freeney, who's now in the pros, because I knew he had it. And so we saw kids, everybody on there, with the exception of my 4 kids, are under the radar. But they could play. And I knew this, that every coach wants a good player, they just don't know who they are. But if they saw one, they would take them. So that's what we do. I'm here to let you know we love you, we appreciate you. And you young guys don't know how fortunate you are, but you need to give your mom and dad a hug. Whoever brought you, you need to thank them, because everybody doesn't get the opportunity. Everybody doesn't get the chance that you're getting. You have to know what's valuable, you have to know what's precious, and you have to know what's good. Okay, because you guys are getting a great start, and the window for your recruiting is wide open. So, I would say get them around the coaches who has the character. They leave here, get in them camps. Start varsity, make highlight tapes of them, and find out what the coaches are thinking. But you guys have to play well enough for them to want you. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have any questions, but I just want to ask for any questions. Yes, sir.
So you want to go to like 93 colleges?
Yeah.
It's more important to go to like college than like college at campus.
Okay, let me say this. Okay, he asked the question, should it go to a college or go buy something that's sponsored by Nike? Okay, here's what I say to that. If Nike has college coaches there, go to them. Nike don't get you a scholarship. They don't get it. It's the coaches. It's real simple, guys. It's the coach that has the scholarship. I'm not saying don't go to Nike. Go to Nike, then leave there and go to where coach is. Yes, sir. Okay. You want to know how can you get accepted in the camps? It's real easy. The colleges have a time that they have a schedule when they're going to offer the camp. You go online, you see what the school you want to go to their camp, and they'll list when they give the camp. So they'll tell you to apply, pay the camp fee, and then show up. Okay? And I understand when you go to a camp, other kids are there too. Just like you guys are here, everybody here, other kids come that you don't know, they're good. But you have to understand, the game is not where you live. The game is out there. You can be good where you are, but you know what kind of merit you have, what kind of ability, what kind of skills you have, once you start testing them against other kids from across the country or a different region. So if you have the money to go, you want to go. And I realized I made that investment. But I got my yield back because my kids got the full rides and it saved me a lot of dollars. And so what I did for each one, once they become a sophomore, going into the junior year, I got them a car. I leased them a car. When they got to be senior, they took over the payments. But I was thankful. I wanted to know, you guys listen to me, you obey me, and I want you to know how much mom and dad appreciate you for what you did. You didn't get distracted. You listened to what I told you. You didn't. Because in the summertime, we were going to camp. Other kids were going to the shore, going over here, going over there. But my kids were going to camp. Because they listened, I felt. I did everything like my father would do to me. I did everything I could to help them and let you know, Dad appreciates you, Mom appreciates you, and here. So I just wanted to know that this we're with you, we're for you, because you didn't give us a hard way to go. I appreciate that. So now we got 10 grandkids. And now we're working with our grandkids. I went to the first camp of 11-year-old in Georgia. Because my daughter and her family wanted me to be there and watch. Now they call me Poppy. They probably would come down and watch Z-Man. He's doing basketball now. Why did I do it? It's the same thing I did for them. It doesn't change. So they got to start. They got to get started. So, again, any more questions? Parents or anybody? Yes, sir. Pardon me?
You see the pictures?
What do they look like? That's the pictures right there.
see a face?
Oh, you want to see your face? I'm sorry, I don't have one. He's getting helmet. Okay. That's the close up. There's one with a face button. Anybody else? Parents have questions?
No, sir.
We're all good?
No, sir.
Thank you so much.